Welcome to Real Estate Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters, sharing proven strategies to help you build a better business today. And here is your host, Keith Doherty.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our show. This is your host, Keith Doherty. Now today our special guest is real estate agent Carla Masse of Sun Realty out of Naples, Florida. Now Carla actually became a licensed realtor in 2005, and she enjoyed quick success by being named the top producer in her office of 50-plus agents in her first year. She also received the 5-Star Professional Award for 2014 and 2015 for superior customer service, and the Golden Award with the Bonita Springs Board in 2015. She has since developed a thriving business working primarily with sellers in Naples, Marco Island, Bonita Springs, and Stereo. She was also featured on the cover of Top Agent magazine. So Carla, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Keith. It's my pleasure.
Excellent. Now, Carla, if we could kind of start out with, what led you into real estate? Was it something you knew you always wanted to do, or maybe did you kind of just, stumble into it?
Well, real estate is part of my family background. My grandfather was in real estate, and my father had been part of many real estate transactions. So that gave me the involvement with the business since I was a little girl back in Brazil. And it was our conversation at the dinner table lots of the time, or the Sundays at the grandfather's house. So I was so involved and very curious, and I really think it's part of me as well, since, it started very early. But then when I decided to have a career, I went with an educational degree, and I have been always working with arts. At the time, I had a custom frame shop when I was living in Massachusetts, and that was until 11 years ago when we moved to Florida. So my husband and we decided to move to Florida, and here I decided to get my license and make real estate my new career. And I love the challenges, and from day one, I loved it. And I plan to do this always.
Well, that's great. It's, it kind of sounds like you said, it was kind of, raised into you, as, the whole family kind of was in real estate, and you kind of grew up around it, kind of knowing this is kind of in your blood type thing. So that's great that you kind of follow. Cool. So what personal attributes or traits or qualities do you think have most contributed to your success, and how do you think you developed those?
Well, if I have to describe that in one word, I would say trustworthy. I'm always meeting with new people, and as you know, it's hard for people to trust you when they meet you. But that's where I develop a relationship. I always focus in being very transparent and clear, and also show who I really am. And very often my clients are handling the biggest transactions of their lives, and I really don't take that for granted. But it makes a big difference if with the time they know, and they know for sure that they are working with someone that they can really trust.
No, go ahead.
As part of who I am and my philosophy is that I give the same service as I expected for myself. So that's how I do it daily, putting my clients first, and also, giving them the most transparency as possible.
Yeah, I think it's a great point that you made there is, and it kind of goes back to the old saying that tends to be out there is, treat others as you'd like to be treated. So I think by you embracing that as a business practice, that you think, okay, I'm going to treat this person exactly how I would want to be treated if I was in this kind of situation. And I think, your success is obviously speaks volumes to what that has done for you as a professional.
Exactly.
So do you think you could give maybe a specific example or examples of kind of when your traits have played a role in your path towards success?
Sure. So let's say I talk to a person for the first time on the phone, and it happens daily. Every day I talk to somebody that I never spoke to. And the first part of the conversation is definitely not to try to sell them anything. You know, of course, I am in the business to sell properties. However, you know, it's not the main thing when I am meeting someone. I first interview them, and I really look forward to understand why they're buying or selling. And strategically, I want to help them and guide them with the best decisions for them. Sometimes the process doesn't result in a deal closed, but many times it results in relationships and appreciations for what I do for them.
Excellent. Yeah, I think it's great that what you pointed out there, that is, you know, I think some people in business focus on the objective of, I need business, right? You said you're in selling, obviously in real estate. Your primary goal is to get a listing, or obviously, you know, take a buyer to a house and potentially get a buyer out of something so you can generate, you know, revenue. But I think it's great what you said there is that, you know, by not focusing on that, by really looking at the needs of the customer, that maybe it isn't the right time for them, and maybe you can counsel them and build that relationship so when it is the right time, they're going to look at you and say, well, Carla didn't try to put me into something that we didn't need or we couldn't afford, but now we're ready and we want to work with her because of that relationship you established.
Exactly. And, you know, a short happy ending story that I have is with this couple. When they first called, usually I mark them as, you know, they are cold or warm or hot. Are they ready to buy? And this one I would put like as a cold category, cold category. And it looked like they, you know, didn't know what directions they were going to. And this happened all the way, you know, let's say like 7 years ago. But with a lot of interviewing and guidance, eventually they decided to look at houses first. And I showed them quite a few homes. But at the same time, there was a relationship developed and also a trust. They knew that I was helping them and waiting for what was best for them to happen. But anyway, the happy part is, as a result, they started referring me to other friends and families, people that they knew that were looking to buy a house as well. And as a result, I have closed 13 deals out of that one family that has a relationship developed throughout the years. And not only to count that today, you know, they are my friends. We are always touching bases, and that's just a small example of one case that I gave my service, and they understood that I was working for their best, and as a result, I was also there was appreciation, you know, in my favor for what I have given them.
Well, that's a heck of a referral to build that relationship and have 13 transactions, you know, kind of manifest out of that. But that just shows the power of putting the client first and taking care of their needs, and then, you know, obviously you know, benefited down the road from that.
That's correct, yes. And for that, I'm very happy, and I appreciate very much.
So obviously you've built the success over the time that you've been in real estate, and not everything is always, you know, the pretty roses and everything's perfect, right? So what are maybe some major adversities or some trials that you had to overcome to achieve the goals that you have?
I call them bumps on the road. And I believe this happens in any career. But I started the business in 2005. The first 2 years were great. We were in a great seller's market. Everything was going great until the real estate collapsed. And as far as the career, it almost felt like I was not going to make it. I was a full-time realtor at the time, and the market just went dead. 2008, 2009, there was no sales happening. It was a very difficult time to go through that recession. But I always look back and I see that was for sure not the end.
Yeah, I think that speaks volumes. That you can kind of trouble the storm and keep moving forward. So that kind of leads me to my next point here of what kept you going, despite these obstacles. Why didn't you decide to give up? Why didn't you say, maybe I know it's been in the family, but maybe this isn't for me? I mean, what drives you to keep moving forward through an obstacle?
Exactly, and that crossed my mind, but lots of persistence. I'm a very persistent person, and I try not to look at the situation of the moment, but also look at the big picture. And another trait of mine is being caring, care for other people. And in the middle of the real estate collapse, I was asked, from sellers to try to sell their houses. And I say to try because nothing was being sold at that time. But another business was created where I started negotiating short sales. And it was a very complicated, different type of market because we had to deal with the banks, and also we had to deal with clients that their feelings was, I'm losing everything, I'm losing my home. But at the same time, the focus was, if you are helping this client to go through the short sale and avoid foreclosure, I'm doing a great thing. So my persistence to stay on a very difficult market, but to be there, to help my clients, to avoid foreclosures, and also guide them for something that would just pass. It wasn't going to be there forever. So that's what helped me to stay focused, and I did. And to be honest, as far as my business, my career, that is where most of my relationships that I have today in my business really started. It was at that time.
Excellent. Yeah, and I think kind of like what you said, building out of that time, really you helped solidify that relationships, and the way you did it, that come where we are today, that really helped you move along a positive career.
Exactly.
All right, excellent. So kind of, looking forward a little bit, what do you think your vision for your career, say over the next 5 years, is going to be like?
Well, that's a great question. It's not just about looking at what I'm doing today or where my business is today, but also looking into the future. I want to continue to grow my business by helping people with all their real estate needs. We are a team of 3 realtors with the same vision, helping people daily. And in the next 5 years, we plan to have more agents with us, and our goal is to accumulate all the experience to help each one individually with all their real estate needs. And I look forward to help all my past clients and look forward for the referrals and also make more relationship daily.
Excellent, and I think that really speaks volumes of where you kind of want to take your business moving into the future. So I think sometimes there's misconceptions or myths, especially when it comes to working with real estate agents. So, what do you think the biggest misconception or myth people have about working with a real estate agent is?
And there is a big misconception right there. And I find that the biggest is that a realtor will cost a buyer or a seller lots of money. And I always say we save them money because if someone is represented by a realtor, if I am representing a buyer, I'm going to make sure I help them to make the right decision. And I'm going to make sure that they are fully aware of the condition of the house by hiring a professional inspector, and also being side by side in case they need help with the loans or reviewing of title or knowledge of the community where they're going to live. But as a realtor, I just want to I will make sure I'll be there to help them out, and not even to count with all the contracts and legal liability that someone can be exposed to if they don't have a professional representation. And on the other hand, a seller, the seller is the one that pays us the commissions. But it's statistic proven that when a house is sold by a real estate professional, that property will sell faster and for sure for more money. And the representation will protect the seller for any other legal liability that can cost them a lot of money as well.
Yeah, I think that's a big one that people, like you said, they just assume, I'll just stick a sign in the ground and I'll sell my house. And I don't think a lot of people understand all the legal ramifications and the paperwork and the offers and the contracts. And like you said, at the end of the day, I know from experience, not from a house, but other things, I'm like, I can do that on my own. And then you go off and try to do it. Next thing you know, if I would have just hired a professional, I probably would have saved a lot of money in certain instances.
Exactly.
So, I think it makes a big difference. So,
yes.
So this is kind of a hypothetical question, but it's always interesting to kind of see what you think here. But let's say you get a call from a family member in another state. Obviously, you're licensed here in Florida. Let's say they happen to live up north, maybe up in New York or somewhere in that area, and they're just sick of the snow. So they call you up and say, Carla, we're going to sell our house up here because we want to come down. We want to be warm. We want to be closer to you. What advice would you give them for selecting an agent, so that they could best kind of service their needs, kind of like how you take care of your people? What would you recommend they do in order to, try to find someone that is going to be able to take care of them?
Yeah, and that happens very often because many of our buyers that we are working with, they need to sell their house up north, and it happens very often. So what we have done, we have created a system, and it's a referral basis. However, we will get to know the area, the location where they are selling, and then through our checklist or guidelines that we have on this referral system, we are going to find a few realtors that work in the area, and we are going to interview them. And throughout that process that they are selling the house to transition and be here in Florida, we will work with a referral basis, but also work side by side with the realtor that we have referred to our client. So that's one of the ways that we can help. We can help them with the sale of their home up north.
Excellent. And if someone wants to learn more about you, maybe they're on the West Coast in the Naples area, what's the best way they can find out more information about you and how you can help them?
Well, I love talking with people. So I would love to have them call me, and so if they have any real estate related questions, or you're at the beginning stage or just curious, or they would like to know more about our services, they can just call me. My cell phone number is 239-207-5614, but they can also visit our website and learn more about our team and our services. And my website is MasiSalesFlorida.com.
Excellent. Well, Carla, I just want to personally thank you for taking time. I know that you have many other things you could be doing, so I appreciate you taking time to come here today and share with our listeners your business experience, how you really put the customer first and you take care of them. And if anybody's listening and you happen to be in that the Naples area and you need real estate services, you can reach out to Carla as she gave her number. It's going to also be below this interview. We'll also put a link to her website, which was MasiSellsFlorida.com, so we'll get you a link to that as well. So with that said, everybody, thank you again for joining us on this episode of our show. Until next time, have a great day, and we'll talk to you all soon.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Real Estate Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading real estate industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at realestateinnovatorsradio.com today.